If you want a better life, if you want a better life,
The cameras.
the number one thing you have to do is get around better people. It sounds so cliche, like you are the average of your 5 best friends, but you really fucking are, dude.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 25th episode of the Conscious Cast. We are back here with Jason.
Yes, sir.
And Cole is unfortunately not with us. He is fired, and Jason is replacing him full-time. No. But yeah, so today we're going to be, dropping some knowledge, as always, for you viewers. And, so what are we going to talk about today? Since we're just freestyling.
We're kind of freeballing, I guess. The one thing that's actually been on my mind a lot lately is habits and building habits.
Yeah. Doesn't take 28 days.
I read that in Atomic Habits by
Yeah,
James Clear. Highly recommend the book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you are trying to get in the gym, you can't read that fucking book. It'll change your life. But what I've noticed consistently with everybody, and like I just said, it seems like the problem with a lot of people is getting in the gym. They're always like, I start it and I'll go hard for a week and then I stop and I don't work out for 6 months. And then they go through the same process over and over and over and over and over again. It's like 99% of people that I talk to about it. And what I realized is the root of that problem is the ego. It's not that you're not disciplined, although that contributes to it, it's your ego. And this is what I realized. After I talked to enough people, I understood that the reason why people can't build a habit is because they start too big, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to start working out and you're fat and you're overweight and you, like most people, get motivated for a week and will go every single day, burn yourself the fuck out, and then just stop going for another 6 months and then get zero results. That's what most people do. And they don't do that because they don't have the humility to start small. Because what I recommend people do is, and they actually talk about it in the book, Atomic Habits, where he had his client go to the gym. He literally told him, he said, I don't know if it was a month or 2 months or something like that, but for a long time, this one guy who wanted to develop the habit of working out would go to the gym, he would show up, walk in for 5 minutes, and then leave. And he did that for months. But didn't even break a sweat. Sometimes he just walked in and then walked out. But what he was developing was the habit of showing up consistently. And then he built on that and built on that and built on that. And I think he lost some crazy amount, like 200 pounds or something nuts, and maintained it because that's how you actually build habits. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because you're a fucking human being. You're a human being. And if you want to build a habit, you have to start small and take steps. And it sounds cliche.
That's how it works, though.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
And people who try to do otherwise, I realize, is the problem lies within their ego. Because your ego is telling you, I'm too good for that. I'm too good to start with just showing up for 5 minutes consistently. And to then I always say, okay, well, do you want fucking results? Or do you want to burn yourself out and then stop for 6 months over and over and over again? And eventually we'll get back to square one, which is their ego is too big to let them start small.
Yeah, 100%, dude. It's like the thing I was picking up on when you were saying that is just like what I kept visualizing was just like you said, getting into working out, and it's like people. I remember like when I first got into working out, I would load up I remember specifically loading up like 205 on like squat. Like when I first squatted, and dude, I would go down so picture me standing up, I would go down like a quarter inch and then up again, and so it's like all I wanted to do with, like you said, it was my ego. My ego was getting in the way,
100%.
And so. Like through that, I was like, oh, dude, I'm so fucking strong. But like, that obviously is not the case because, to squat, you got to go at least to 90, okay? Maybe I prefer to go lower, but, to each their own. I understand. Yeah. But like with that, it shows like the ego gets in the way, it gets in the way of really you being able to selflessly take a step back and recognize and understand what you need to do to get to where you want to go. And so what I mean by that is, okay, you see like a fitness YouTuber squatting like 315, right? And you've never been to the gym before, and you're like, oh man, I really wish I could do that, and like all of this like lifestyle habits I want to have, But like obviously, that's not going to happen overnight. And Cole and I were discussing this in our New Year's episode. Like as you noted as well, it's slow and incremental. And it's those results are not going to come with the snap of a finger.
No.
And as you go in the gym and I feel like everyone that goes in the gym has like an ego trip, but also at the same time like gets their ego checked, because they see the motherfucker right next to them like actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, or someone comes up to them like me and was like, dude, this is not how you do it, you know, like they tell you how it is, and like with this, you take a step back and you, like I said before, you realize what you need to do to get to where you want to go,
100%.
and this is a huge thing, like as you noted as well, like just being able to put your ego aside and being able to like put your self-esteem and pride down. It's okay, like as coming from an individual that has hurt their lower back so many times while squatting, like dude, it sucks. All right, I understand you want to go as heavy as possible, right? You want to show off in the gym. I get it, I'm there with you, all right, but to recover, and to get back up to like what you were at, you gotta put your ego to the side and lift light, and so kind of using that analogy, you gotta start light, you gotta start with baby steps, like as Greg Doucette says, like when you go in the gym for newbies, just go through the motions, just acclimate yourself to that new environment, and with that, over time, you'll start to pick up on patterns, or start to pick up on new information, new understanding, and it's like if someone was to go into editing, for example, and be like, dude, I'm gonna edit like a fucking movie, like hell no, dude, like that's not how it works, you gotta, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some people that can edit like really well off the bat, but like it takes time, and I feel like that's really with any journey you go into.
Yeah, fucking dude, patience is everything. It's always everything, and another part that's not really talked about, especially when it comes to building habits, is your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? I think it was Tom Bilyeu's his podcast with Ed Milet, and Ed Milet was talking about how he wanted to start living a healthier life, and he was talking about how important it is to have a strong reason why for you to build any habit, not just exercise. It goes for anything. And he gave the example of, you take two guys, right? Two identical human beings, hypothetically, and they both want to start working out. They're both out of shape, and they both want to get in shape, start eating healthy and working out. One guy, his reason why is because this summer he wants to be ripped up and look good at the beach for a bunch of chicks so that he can satisfy his ego. Second guy, his reason why is because he goes to the doctor one day and his doctor says, hey man, if you keep this up, you're not going to be at your daughter's wedding. You're not going to be alive to see your son graduate high school. Right?
I see.
And if you had to put your money on which one of those guys, when they're working a fucking 5 a.m. shift, are going to show up to the gym at 3 every single day and refuse to touch the pizza and the cookies and are actually going to stay disciplined and follow through on what they need to do and what they want to do, who are you going to put your money on? The second guy. Because of his reason why. Right? And I think a lot of people don't understand that you can create your own. Right? And it varies from person to person. It doesn't necessarily matter what your reason is. It matters how strong your why is. And like for me, when it comes to a lot of things, it's my identity, right? I identify as someone who shows up consistently. Like I identify as someone who doesn't miss a day. Or actually my new motto is never miss twice, which is basically my way of saying like, if there's a day where I slack off, or there's a day I don't get to the gym, or there's a day I get a little lazy, it's not going to happen 2 days in a row because I'm not going to allow myself to travel down the road. But the main point of it is reasons come first and answers will come second. If you have a strong reason why, it will pull you through when things are tough, because they will be tough. But
yeah, heck yeah, man. And when you use that, when you told that story about the person like you're not going to live enough to see your daughter's wedding.
Yeah.
That reminded me, it's like, once again, it's like the ego wants that short-term satisfactory, right? But it has long-term negative consequences.
Yep.
And it's like, dude, that is so fucking true, dude. Like, okay, yeah, you're going to lift heavy as fuck now, but in the long term, you're going to be fucking injured as shit. Exactly. It's never worth it. Like, dude, it appears worth it in the moment, but after you have that experience, whether you get injured, whether you fucking, I don't know, whatever you're doing, it just ends up not being like what you thought it would be, you know, and it's never satisfactory. And then another thing that this whole situation just popped up into my head, and I don't know if I'll be able to recite this perfectly, but so pretty much there's this like analogy in philosophy, right? And so pretty much there's a chariot being pulled by 3 horses, right?
Okay.
And so one horse represents reason,
Okay.
which is the main horse that steers the chariot in the right direction, right? The 2 other ones are passion and appetite. So passion being like that emotional drive, right?
Okay.
And appetites being like your preferences, likes and dislikes. And so essentially, like with reason, right? Reason allows us to logically think and know what we need to do, right? To think outside of the moment and base our present actions on future consequences, or vice versa. You look at the past and then you base your actions in the present based on future consequences or something of the matter. But our appetites and emotions, you can kind of see that as your ego, right? Can sway that reason, right? And it can pull the chariot off course, right? And so that reason is the main driving force behind you getting where you need to go, in conjunction with the other 2, right? Because you need all 3 to get to where you need to go, right? And so let's just say, for example, the reason is there, right? But you don't have the emotional drive to go, right? You're not gonna, just because you know what you're gonna do doesn't mean you don't have a why, right? You don't have that emotional backing, and you're not gonna get to where you need to go. Or you know what you need to do, you have the passion, but you don't fucking like it. And so you got the 2, right? But there's going to be that one horse that's just laying on the ground, and then your chariot's not going to get to go where it needs to go. So with all those 3, like reason, appetites, and that emotional backing, I mean, obviously there's a ton of factors, including like your external environment, things you can't control. But those, to the best of your extent, you can control those things, and obviously, we're not going to like everything. We're not going to always realize what the best course of action is, but if we could take a step back, figure out, and through self-reflection, figure out what our reason why is, and we're going into an area that we need to face, although we may not like it, that reason, I guess you could say, can kind of pull you through it. But yeah, I thought that would be a kind of cool analogy.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It was like when I heard that from my philosophy teacher, I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude! that was awesome." But yeah, I mean, that's just so true, though, man. Like the short-term satisfactory for negative long-term results, and it's like, yeah. Do you see that in a lot of your life? Like, kind of. I know. You're obviously you're a changed individual now, but
not changing.
Changing
It's
individual.
always changing. Always working.
Yeah.
That's actually one thing I fucking hate, dude, is that like people will see that like, oh, you do the personal development TikToks, like you have your room clean,
yeah, you're perfect,
you're organized, you work out. Whoa, we get it, Jay. It's like, dude, like,
suck my fucking nuts.
like, you're so stupid to think that.
Yeah,
think that,
dude, no,
that,
it's so true.
Now that I'm doing things that are healthy for my life, that means I'm perfect.
Yeah.
Like, I got a lot of fucking shit that I'm still working on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then again, it might be my fault. Maybe I'm portraying myself in a way where I'm trying to seem like I'm flawless.
I gotcha.
So maybe it's ego.
Yeah. But I think that's interesting, too, because, I can relate to that in a lot of ways. Like, for example, if anybody's watching this, don't take this in the wrong way. But a lot of times, like, for example, last year, like, I swore around a couple other staff members, and they were like, "Oh, Cal, you swear? What?" I'm like, what the yeah, fucking I do. Like, and like, they were like, I don't know. I talked to my mom about this. Cole knows about this. Like, they put me in a box of perfection. And they expect, and if you deviate from that box of perception,
box of perfection.
Box of perfection. Perception, perfection. Box of perfection. You're looked at differently, you know, and it's because they're not used to you acting in that way.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, God, you don't got your shit together? Like, first off, like, it's okay to not have your shit together. Like, it's okay. And like you said, it's pretty much what you touched on.
No
you know?
one has their shit together.
Exactly.
No one has their shit together.
We just have our shit together a little bit better than others. You know,
Yeah.
like other people have a lot more shit. We just have a little bit less.
A little bit less of shit, yeah.
And you could definitely work towards not having as much shit.
100%. And PSA for anybody that talks to anybody that's that works on themselves, that exercises, keeps their room clean, gets their work done, stays organized, does these kind of things involved with personal development. Don't act like you're better than you are. Don't. No. Because that makes it even worse. Yeah. Like when I see people come up to me, and we're not really close friends or whatever, or I just meet them and they know that like I do the TikTok and the social media and I'm all about self-improvement, and you come up to me and are just basically trying to fluff yourself up, right? Like I hear all the time, like, oh, like I'm starting to work out. I'm doing this and that. Like it's not even like I didn't even ask you about it. Like don't try and put some front on it. It looks so bad. It makes you look way worse, and not just me, but everybody sees right through that bullshit. Like it doesn't matter who you're talking to. If you're being real with yourself and you're being real with other people, then you can actually have a real fucking conversation. But if you're gonna be fake about it because you're with someone that you think is superior, which nobody is, then you're never going to have a real good relationship. Yeah, dude. Especially with people that can help you.
Think back on that whole perfection thing. Like, I remember one time, this individual that you know, pretty much, we were, it was for our job, the training that we have. I'm just not going to say it directly, just in case. Pretty much we had a self-care training, and so pretty much they called people up to the stage to, like, share their self-growth stories and stuff. And so, you know, I got called up, you know, I got recognized, and it was like that whole entire week, I was just like put on such a pedestal for like just like how I acted, my lifestyle, my like the decisions I made. Like people just like held me up to such a level of respect. And you know, I've always like I was like, oh man, I hope people like I get this like egoic force within me, or like I could say emotion instead of force. It's better. That like wants people to recognize that. Like I feel like that's a natural thing that we want other people to see like how good we're doing, you know. And I don't act on it, you know, like I don't project it on other people, meaning like I don't be like, oh hey, I worked out today, like hey, I like read a book for 45 minutes. Like no, I don't do that, but I kind of get this like natural force, and like same with editing. Like I'm like, oh, I want people to see how good of an editor I am. Yeah. It's the same thing with that. And I remember it was like probably like one of the first weeks out here, I actually made a YouTube video about it. I was like, I thought this is what I wanted. Like I thought I wanted to be put on a pedestal, right, and be recognized for how good I am. But when it actually happened, I was like, oh my god, dude, this fucking sucks. This is exhausting, man. I hate this. And it was, and the reason why it was exhausting is because I felt like I had to fit that mold, and I couldn't deviate. I couldn't be myself. Yeah. I couldn't be real. Yeah. And putting myself in that box was like, that was just such a cage for me. Yeah. And I felt like I couldn't break out of it because I'm not that type of individual that's like, no, this is who I fucking am, and I'm gonna be who I am regardless. You know, I'm obviously myself. I'm authentic, but when I'm in social situations, it's harder for me, and that's just how it is for me.
Yeah. I think that's where we differ a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes maybe you're more of a social chameleon in some sense. Like just try and vibe with what people are doing. I think I'm a little more disagreeable probably. Yeah. But one thing I really, really, really resonated with you there is my TikTok. Because when I first started, I had like 50 followers, got like 20 views on all my videos, like whatever. And I had this crazy like vision in my head of like how amazing life was going to be when I hit my big thing was 1 million likes or 100K followers. Yeah. And it happened way fucking sooner than I thought. It happened within like 3 months. It was like 4 or 5 months where I hit 100K followers. Yeah. And if there's one thing I can tell you, listen to me when I tell you this. Whatever you think is on the other end of having 100,000 followers or millions of likes or thousands and thousands of people telling you how amazing you are, it's not fucking there. It's not there. Any sense of self-worth comes from the self. That's why it's called self-worth. And whatever you think is on the other end of having all these followers and likes and bullshit, it's not there and it doesn't fucking exist. I'm telling you from a place where I thought that that's what would give me this happiness, and it's not what gives me that happiness. Not even a little bit. The thing that gives me the most happiness is having a conversation with someone and them telling me, bro, like, when you told me that X, Y, and Z, man, now my life's a lot better because of that. Thank you, brother. Yeah. Nothing compares to that. Yeah. And when you attach that, because that's internal, you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like I'm connected to somebody in that manner. But when there's a standard that I think I need to hit externally in order for me to feel good about me, not only are you going to miss that, but when you get there, if you hit that standard of 100,000 or 1,000,000 likes or whatever, you're going to realize that it does nothing for you.
Like, what the fuck is next?
Nothing for you.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like, what's next? You turn your cheek to the other shoulder. You know, it's like, it's a never ending chase. That, you know, we're all in. You know, like we're all trying to get better. You know, like Cole mentioned this. You know, like it's the pursuit of perfection. You know, and its essence is an illusion. You know, because you know perfection will never exist, no matter how hard we try. You know, but we're striving towards perfection, and having that standard is very good. You know, and being within this domain of becoming. You know, like meaning, okay, here's the standard, right? Here's where I am. Right, but really that standard is an illusion because it's all man-made. You know, it's all these like different types of labels and goals we're setting ourselves. They're good because like they allow us to develop discipline, they allow us to develop habits, you know, and live a preferable life. But like we touched on before, like let's just say, okay, you're at 100 and what, like 80K on TikTok, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Me, I'm at like what, 270 subscribers on YouTube. For someone that's not conscious and that is like feels like, oh, their worth is defined by how many people follow them.
External
things, exactly. They're going to feel way inferior to someone that has like a following like you. And I'm not trying to just devalue what you've done. Hell no.
Not at all.
No,
brother.
but I'm just telling how it is, you know. And if you can take a step back and realize that you're just as complete as people who have billions of dollars, right? Who are incredibly successful. Of course, within that specific domain, yeah, they're better than you. But when you take a look at the whole, no, they're not. They're equal.
Yeah,
they're whole and complete, just like you. They have their shit. They're striving towards becoming something, and they're always turning that cheek to the next shoulder.
100%. Yeah, that I mean, because what you were talking about, like striving for perfection, but again, it's like an illusion. It's essentially the same thing. It's like what makes you happy isn't the end goal. Like what made me happy wasn't hitting 100K. It was progress.
Oh yeah, we touched on this before.
Progress is what creates happiness. That's when you feel alive. That's what dopamine is, right? So like even you go back to caveman times, like when you got closer and closer and closer to that animal that you were hunting or that apple tree when you wanted the food, you get this spike of dopamine because it's saying we're making progress towards a goal that we need, and now we're wired in this way where like the closer you get, the more dopamine you get, the more dopamine you get. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with everything else. It's not that once you hit 225 on bench, then you're going to feel fucking amazing. It's, again, we touched on this last time too. It's like if you're benching 75 pounds, it's not going to feel any better going from 70 pounds to 80 pounds and going from 220 pounds to 225, which was your end goal. Mm-hmm. It's going to feel the same, and then it's going to dissipate. But when you put that shit on a pedestal, when you put an end goal on a pedestal, you're going to be very, very fucking disappointed at the end of it. It's like a lot of people can relate to this in a way of like, you know when you're younger and you have like a birthday party, and leading up to it, you're just imagining how glamorous this birthday party is going to be, and everyone's going to be there, and everyone's going to be having a great fucking time, and it's going to be this, and it's going to be that, and you're glorified in your head, and you have the birthday party, and it's really fun, but it doesn't meet that standard, and then you feel that pain, because you feel that dissonance between what you imagined and how fun it was. Yeah. But in reality, it was this fucking fun, but you wanted it this fun.
Yeah.
And that's not where
you're
it was.
Disappointed, yeah.
Exactly. Don't put shit on a pedestal. It's all in the progress, and if you're gonna be focused on, I'll be happy when, you'll never be happy.
Yeah,
never.
Yeah, it's we're so focused on the end result that we forget the process when it occurs. And we touched on we did like a whole fucking spiel on this the last time.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking true because like if I remember like I was recently just doing an assignment, and I was like, all I was thinking about was like, okay, I'm gonna get to the end of this, and this is how it's gonna be, and it'll feel so good. 800 words later, I'm like, wow, that shit fucking sucked, but like, I got that dopamine rush, and I was like, already thinking about what next assignment I had to do. You know, I was like, it's just that imaginary vision that you have in your head that appears to be so amazing and like of just so much value, and it's very interesting too because I don't know, I just find that fascinating how we can like fantasize so much about in the moment about like a future time. And it's like similar today. I was just like, I remember I was over there like getting my clothes out of the drawer, and I was like, oh, like I just got that, like I got the spontaneous feeling, and I'm not saying this is how I actually feel, it's just like a random spontaneous feeling I got. I was like, oh man, I can't wait until this fucking semester's over, you know, and then we can just chill, you know. Like obviously that's not gonna be the fucking case, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But like the truth of the matter is, you can have peace right now, right? You could have peace right here, right now, right? It's just your mind is so fixated on these responsibilities, which are valid, are real, right? But it's your response in regards to them, and like how you utilize your attention towards them. Are you focused on the end result, or are you focused on making progress towards completing these goals? And it's very similar to that. Like people look at the whole entire big picture, and they're like, man, I'm never going to get this shit done. I'm never going to, I'm never going to be able to attain this habit. I'm never going to be able to go to the gym consistently. Just start in baby steps, right? Slow and incremental.
And focus on each step. Don't focus on 10 steps or 20 steps or the top of the mountain. Because that, is going to create that mental burnout, seeing that dissonance between you and the end of the goal. But when you're in that moment, not only will you focus on it and actually do a much better job because you're present, but you're not going to feel that exhaustion, that mental exhaustion, because you're taking the step and your mind is taking the step. Your mind isn't 100 steps away. You're where you are, and I think that's where presence comes a lot into play when it comes to making progress and feeling good during the process.
And it's an interesting thing to think about as well, that we are whole and complete in this moment, but yet we're living in a reality that we naturally feel the need to acquire more. Like we want more materialistic things, and it's very hard for ourselves. This is very much on like the Buddhist side of things, very much on like the Eastern side of the world, where like you detach from your desires, right, and you become one with everything that is, you know. And what I mean by that is like you just see things as they really are, and rather than trying to accumulate as much material as possible, and when you are acquiring that material, it's never satisfying. You take a step back and you're just like, wow, I'm like in everything else, right? I'm a neutral being in this moment. Good and bad don't really exist, even though it appears as though it does. And it's like that detachment from desire, even though like you still are wanting things, you still are desiring things, you know, it's, you take a step back and you're just like, everything, it's like the law of attraction, right? Like as you become like, as you become more aligned with like what you ideally want, right? Like you detach from the desire, but then it actually brings what you want. It's like a really weird fucking paradox. And it's true though. Like it's happened to me.
100%.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
Yeah. That's my whole thing with blissful dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
It's like everything that you are and have now is perfect. And the reason why it's perfect is because it is.
Yeah.
Because that's how it is now. And there's nothing you can change about that. That's the bliss part of it. The dissatisfaction is, I want more. I'm going to do more. I'm going to create more. I'm going to give more. I'm going to contribute more. But that doesn't mean that since you want more, that you feel the pain between you and what you and your next step in the process. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't have gratitude and if you're not present in the progress, you're going to feel painful dissatisfaction. And that's that never-ending process. Yeah. And that's where you see with a lot of interviews, especially with like billionaires. You see it. Like I saw Elon Musk being interviewed on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he's talking about like, he's like, yeah, people think like having all this money, like makes people happy. He's like, people are actually very sad. Like, they're very upset. And you see him talking, you see, like, this fucking misery in his face, and it's like, fuck. It's like, so many people aspire to have that shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's hard for me to say, like, you don't know what's in the other end of that, and money's not going to give you happiness because I'm fucking 20 years old in college living for free as an RA. But damn, bro, I wish people could get the fucking hint.
Dude, even like our position, like, that we're thinking about, like, I mean, you might not feel this, but I was like, dude, I forget that I'm living for free here all the time. You know, I take it for granted, right? Like, it just becomes an assumption. You know, and like when we gotta work, you know, and we got to put effort in. We're like, man, fuck! Like we're getting our job is worth like $15,000, right?
Nuts.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like
Nuts.
it's a shit. We get free food, free board, and we're chilling. You know, like we're fucking chilling. We're
Yeah.
like we should be so grateful to Res Life, you know, and like all that type of
I
stuff.
know.
You know, it's and like I'm not gonna lie, like I've been pissed off at Res Life before. You know, like everyone has. You know, and obviously, you know, it's important to express concerns, but you know, to be like as you said, you got to be grateful. You know, you got to recognize, maybe not forcefully grateful, but just recognize what you should be grateful for. And I think it's very hard to be forcefully grateful. But I think it's also like it's not inherently a bad thing. Like to be forcibly grateful. I think it does have good effects. Fuck. Oh man, I wanted to touch on something that you said before. I forget exactly what it was. Well, shit. I don't know.
Well, I have a tangent that I just...
Go for it.
My mind just keeps coming back to this.
Okay,
Even
gotcha,
from the
gotcha.
first, 5 minutes, I don't know why I keep coming back to this. If you want a better life,
The cameras.
the number one thing you have to do is get around better people. It sounds so cliche, like you are the average of your 5 best friends, but you really fucking are, dude. Like you really are. Like it's unbelievable to see the amount of people that I know personally that have this like. Do you know what conscientiousness is?
I remember you touched on it before. It's like in relation to personality,
It's
right?
yeah, it's like It's basically the personality trait of people who are more inclined to be orderly and disciplined, right?
Okay.
So if you naturally are more inclined to be orderly and disciplined, and I see so many people who have this conscientiousness trait who just hang around shitty people, which was me growing up. Granted, it wasn't just them, but I wasn't around people that were pushing me to be better, but are just completely washed away by the simple fact that their influences, the people that influence them the most, are not positive influences. They're not. Because the second I stopped hanging around people who weren't good influences and started hanging around the one fucking good influence for me, it was just exponential growth. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And the thing I always try to tell people is like, if you're in a spot where things aren't going well in any area, your body, finances, your mental health, your spirituality, whatever it is, get around people who have what you want. Get around people who have what you want, because that influence and them just being who they are is going to rub off on you.
Yeah.
And
Facts.
as well as the fact that get around people that are going to fucking hold you accountable.
Yeah. Facts.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely for sure.
Like for me personally, like I'll talk to you, I'll hang with you, like we'll be cool, but I'm never gonna hang around somebody one-on-one that's not gonna hold me accountable.
Yeah.
If I can hang around you and say some bullshit like nah, I just don't feel like going to the gym today, just because like I had a long day yesterday and I got shit going on later, but like so I'm just gonna sit here. Like if you're not gonna be like, hey dude, the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like if you're not holding me accountable, you're not a real fucking friend to me.
Yeah.
Like that's just me.
Sure.
Because real friends don't tell you what you want to hear, they tell you what the fuck you need to hear.
So
and
true.
a lot of us get caught up in the trap of hanging around people that tell us what we want to hear because it makes us feel good in the moment. But if you think you're being a good friend by telling somebody what they want to hear, like, oh, don't worry, Cal, like it's okay that you stopped working out and shit. It's okay that you're not making your bed anymore and your life's getting messy, like because X, Y, and Z and life's happening to you here. Okay, Cal. He's going to take my influence and then say, you know what, it is okay, and then go down and down and down and be miserable and fucking overweight and live a shitty-ass life because you're taking influence from somebody that's telling you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. And so hang around people that hold you accountable.
I definitely agree with that, but I think Yeah, no. That, and okay, a couple things. I am an individual that, like I said before, like you said, I'm very much a social chameleon, and for people like me, it's hard for me to tell people how it is, you know. And it's like for me to like it comes easier to other people, all right. But for me to like hold my ground and be like, tell you how it is, like how you fucking is, like I want to do that, but like it's once again, like I do not want people to feel uncomfortable. Like that is very much an intrinsic trait of mine that I don't know why it is. I don't like making people uncomfortable.
You gotta
like,
ask questions.
Yes, exactly. And you gotta communicate. Yeah, you gotta communicate in a certain way. So, for instance, like my boy Dalton, right? You might have seen him once, probably not.
Is he a bass guy?
No. He was on a podcast like 2-3 episodes ago. It was just him and I. But yeah, like he, for instance, you know, he described like the exact situation. Like he was in like, pretty much like how he, wasn't feeling like going to the gym, you know, because he had like a good amount of stuff to do. And it's like I want to tell him that, like, all right, dude, you got to do this. But it's also, I think it's important to like obviously, if they're like continually slacking off, right, and like. Let's just say they have one mistake, right? But if they continually make those mistakes, I think that's when you should say it, right? I think taking into account one mistake is okay, right? But I think if it becomes like a habit, then you got to like wake them the fuck up. You got to be like, hey man, hold them accountable, you know. And it's like I still struggle with that as well. Even though I know what I should tell him, you know, I still find it hard to externally communicate, you know. And it's like I mentioned this in a video probably like a year and a half ago. I was actually on mid-campus's parking lot garage when I said this in a video with the camera. Yeah, that makes sense, video with the camera. But pretty much like your internal communication and your external communication are not aligned, you know. And that's for me a very big thing. But
I think, but I don't know. For me personally, I know what you're saying, right? Because like if we're talking to Cole or if you're talking to someone like me, you can literally just be straight up, dude, you're being a bitch. Like, pick your shit up and like, message received. But there's a lot of people. Like my big thing is like questions. If your friend is slacking off and you want to hold them accountable, but you don't want to seem like an asshole, ask them questions. If they're like, hey man, like I just don't have the time to work out today, be like, okay, like what are you doing at 3? Like, they'd be like, well, okay, so can you go? Okay, well, I guess I could. Oh, so then why aren't you going? Well, yada, yada, yada. Oh, was that actually true? Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't need to be you need to go to the gym, pussy.
Gotcha.
A lot of times, like, I find asking them questions and letting them find the answer is a better way for them to kind of kick themselves in the ass rather than you doing that.
Yeah, that's 100% the way to do it. Because, it's like, once again, like, it's you think you have to, like, in order to get a message across, you think you have to be, you can be blunt in like a nice way, you know. And it's like you don't have to be like fucking dude, you're being a bitch. Like get your ass in the fucking gym. We're going to fucking pound. All right. No, you can be like, hey man, what's going on? Right. And then like as you said, this is like one of the biggest management techniques managers use, because if you just tell them the answer, they're not actually learning. Right.
100%.
You gotta, and like this relates to habits, right? They've got to learn themselves. If they always follow you around, right? Sure, they're gonna pick up on things, and it's great. Like, be around the people that you want. Like, be around the people that have what you want. Right. But they will learn more if they have the correct resources, right? But they're not initially given the answer.
100%.
Right. And so through that, they will learn exponentially more because they're doing it themselves, but they're still being guided by an individual who is at the position they want to be at.
100%. Yeah. Moral of the story, hang around people who are living the life you want to live, and you will live the life that you want to live. And until you do that, until you stop hanging around your shitty-ass friends, you're going to live a shitty-ass life.
Fuck yeah, man. All right. Clacking out, baby.
What's a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.